He's a longtime friend. I had the pleasure of calling a state championship game that he coached in, and he is the head coach of the UTSA Roadrunners. Joining us on the hotline is Coach Jeff Traylor. I appreciate the time, good sir. How are you today?
Oh, we've had better days, Craig, but we're all right.
I understand that, and that was the question I was going to ask you first. Because listen, you had days that were great days at Gilmer, and then you had days where you could look at it and say we've had better days here, there at Gilmer. And what's the most important thing you think for a coach to tell his players, his team, maybe not in the immediate aftermath, maybe a day or two later or whatever, about how they rediscover themselves and get back to work and put the past behind them, good or bad?
Well, it's something you learn. I'm just my nature and my personality is I'm not somebody that moves around very much. So I was at Gilmer for 15 years. So when you stay somewhere 15 years, there's a lot of ups and downs in those years. You're not always going to have the best team or the most experienced team. So you're going to get your teeth kicked in a few times before you get it all fixed. And, I've chosen to stay in UTSA, and we've been here 5 years now. And our team, has had a lot of turnover this last year. So rebuild is too much of a word, but transition would be the way I would describe it. And this is part of the territory when you're transitioning, trying to get some younger kids grown up.
Well, and like you say, when you've got some younger guys, I know that makes a difference when you lose a valuable group of starters as well. How important is it for the guys that you have, the returning players that you do have, to kind of mentor them? I mean, you and your coaching staff obviously work very hard with them, but how important is it for your guys, your senior leaders and even some junior leaders, to help kind of shepherd those guys along to say, look, most of our days around here are good and have been good here for a few years. So this is not the norm, and try to get them back on track.
Yeah, it's what a program is what culture is. But, like Frank Harris is gone, right? So this is Owen McCollins. That was his first road game to ever start for us. He's a sophomore. And Frank's not here to tell him that, right? So he's got to kind of go through this. But what I've tried to encourage Owen about, Frank struggled too when he was young. We didn't come out there and light the skies up when Frank was young. We had to kind of go through a little bit of learning. So Owen's is an example of somebody I would mention. Defensively, where I was probably the most disappointed, Craig. We have enough guys back on defense. They should have taken care of us better Saturday, but we didn't. We did not play well defensively either. And obviously we didn't offensively to get beat that bad. But I do have some older heads on defense that I think can get their stuff fixed. I think offense is going to take a little bit of time for us to get this thing worked out.
In terms of your running game, I've noticed, you have Kavorian Barnes and Robert Henry both listed there in your backfield, and Henry's your leading ground gainer. Where are you in terms of the development of what you want to see out of your running game?
Yeah, we're really struggling, which is hurting our quarterback play. We've not run the ball well yet. And we thought that was going to be a strength of our team. We've had some injuries. It seems like we always do on the offensive line when we start the year. It's the dangest thing I've ever seen in my life. We hope to get, our right tackle back. He played about 11 snaps last week. We hope he can play more this week. Our left guard was out last week. We have a new left tackle, a new center, a new right tackle. So we just got a lot of new right now, new quarterback. And I feel bad for Robert and Kavorian because those kids have had great careers here, and they're really good backs. We just haven't given them a lot of space to run yet.
Visiting with Jeff Traylor, head coach of the UTSA Roadrunners, for a couple more minutes here on Sports Radio AM 1300 The Zone. Jeff, when you prepare a football team, and this is going to be the highest ranked team you've ever had a team at UTSA face, and when you get them ready to play a game, and even if you get away from the David and Goliath stories and things like that, what are the things that you, when you look at Texas, want your guys to be able to zero in on and be the best version of themselves against the Longhorns on Saturday?
Yeah, it's always, I know this is going to sound like coach talk, but our 2-1-0 try and lift up, and it's our culture, what our expectations are all we ever grade ourselves against. This business is result oriented. I understand that. Everybody's going to just make their decisions on wins and losses. If you do that in this business, you won't make it very long in this business. Now, if you don't win enough, you're not going to make it long anyway because they're going to fire you. But, I mean, in your own mind, you're not going to make it very long if you don't grade yourself to your own standards. So that's what we do every week. And obviously, when you play a team as superior as Texas is to us as far as their size, their strength, their experience, their speed, that really comes into play. Like, how well does the video show we played against people that are obviously, a really great, fantastic football team? I have tremendous respect for Sark and what he's done. He's a great play caller. They play great defense. I mean, Coach K has just done a fantastic job with those guys, and their roster is very developed. They've done well with the transfer portal. They've done well developing their players. Coach Banks does a great job with special teams. They're a well-oiled machine. And when we came over there last time, Craig, we were like that. Our punter was back. Our kicker was back. Our quarterback was back. Our center was back. Our receivers were back. You know what I mean? We knew who we were. Now we're coming back, and we're trying to figure all that out. And you guys definitely know who y'all are.
Well, and it's a great point that you made about the game a couple of years ago. And the guys that you do have that played in that game, does that help a little bit going into that kind of environment, knowing you've got some guys who actually played in that game when you had a 17-7 lead in the second quarter of that contest?
Yeah, we've got a few. There's not as many as you'd like there to be. We've transitioned pretty good. But, yeah, we've got a few. We understand how loud it's going to be and how big and fast those guys really are. But I also think y'all are a lot better now. I don't think the roster is even comparable to the one I played 2 years ago. Y'all have improved that much.
Hey, I got to ask you one other thing, Jeff. When you come off a game like what happened the other day, and then, Coach Metzel had a tough game against Chapel Hill. I know they're not off to the kind of start they want over there. Do you guys still commiserate about things, about how to get things turned back around?
Oh, it's more of just make sure we both know that we're all good. We've been down this road before. I believe it. Nobody wants to believe this, and I think that's a great compliment to our program. But we've had our teeth kicked in 4 times here. So this is not the first time. This is the 4th time. People want to make it sound like it's the first time ever, but it's just not. And believe it or not, the Buckeyes started out 0-2 last year, and they finished up winning all their games. And the Roadrunners started off tough last year, and we finished up winning 8 out of 9. So the season's not over yet. You just got to keep chipping away. And it's football tough. It's tough to win, and tough people do tough things. And practicing after you get your teeth embarrassed and showing up and owning it. All my kids, this might sound trivial. You know how we hold our triangle up to start the 4th quarter? Every player did that. School song. Opposite end of the field. Kids could have walked in easily to where our locker room was. We all walked to the other end of the field and did the school song. Everybody's on time yesterday. Everybody had their notes out. Everybody's at practice on time today. We have a championship culture. We just didn't play very well Saturday, Craig.
Well, anybody that knows you, anybody that knows football, and anybody knows what you've built at UTSA and 40-15 there and your time there in the first ever bowl win for the Roadrunners, knows what you have at your disposal and knows that you'll be back. And I really appreciate you taking the time coming off a tough weekend. I look forward to seeing you on the field down there on Saturday, a couple hours before kick, Jeff, as always. Thank you.
Craig, you're really, really good at your job. So grateful for how you've always supported the state of Texas and Texas high school football coaches and what you do for the Horns, man. You're the absolute best. You're a pro and a good friend. God bless and birds up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That is Jeff Traylor, head coach of the UTSA Roadrunners.